Howdy guys, it's Joe, and have you guys ever had a bad teammate? A teammate that isn't listening to you guys, a teammate that doesn't become one with the team and group up and make a good team comp, one that's always flanking, and overall one that just seems kind of brain dead in how they're acting? Well, today I'm hoping to kind of tell you guys what you can do to help yourself with these guys, or at least make it so that you don't have an even lesser chance of winning with one of these guys on your team. Now, of course, before we get started, I do want to say it's not the best situation to be in. You don't want to have one of these people, but there is some stuff that you still can do to slightly increase your chance of winning, which is what I'm going to hopefully tell you guys today. As well with that, if you have any of your own funny or weird stories about some dumb teammates, tell them in the comment section down below, and we can see what other people had to deal with as far as, some bad problems, as I feel like really everybody's had this in their own games. Anyways, with that said, let's just get started. And the first thing that I want to tell you guys that you have to do, and this is the most important thing, the number one thing, don't flame them in chat. No matter how dumb they are, no matter what they're doing, don't flame and go super hard and be very, very rude to them in chat, as that just makes your chance of losing go way up, and you're essentially just completely throwing the game. Of course, you can say, maybe don't try the next time. Of course, you can say, really, just anything, any constructive criticism. But even that, a lot of the times, people don't want to hear, and people are just going to get mad at you for doing anyways. So, first thing, you can try to constructively criticize them, tell them how to improve a little bit, when to group. If that doesn't work, just don't flame them, maybe even just don't talk to them. As well with that, don't tell them to swap heroes. This is the number one thing that I feel like is going to get these people to quit the game instantly. If they pick whatever hero they could be playing, as people can be really dumb with any hero, and then you tell them to swap to someone else, 90% of the time they aren't going to swap, but 90% of the time they're just going to get mad. Maybe they won't instantly leave the game, but having a mad teammate, plus them not being that great in the first place, or just doing really dumb mistakes, yeah, we can see how that is not the best choice. I know that this is kind of hard to do. You want to get your emotions out, but I guess I have a reminder for you guys at the end of the video that could maybe help you with that. Another thing that I want to tell you guys is to make sure that if you see this person going in again and again, killing themselves and instantly dying, don't jump in to help all the time. Now, of course, if you feel like they have an okay engage, as they sometimes do, then you can jump in and go with your team and get us a nice 6v6. But if that is not the case, just play it safe with the rest of your team until you get stuck at like a control point or get stuck on a certain part of the payload map. A lot of times people just go in when you don't really need to. They're very overly aggressive, or even on defense, they're very overly aggressive and they just go way too far and kill themselves over and over again. You don't want to make yourself do that with them. Play as safe as you can and try to make up for maybe what they're putting down. Again, not the most optimal situation, but something that you can do. And of course, going in when they do go in, when you feel like it's a good time to go, is the best thing to do. But if they just keep going in at really bad times, just stick with the rest of your team. Other than that, I also want to say, try to group up your entire team and focus on the objective. Similarly to the last thing, stop almost all your flanking, and if you do all of this, get your team all next to each other, your teammate that isn't paying way too much attention might actually come. I feel like a big problem that some people have is that they just don't happen to notice when their team needs them to group up. A lot of the times they're just like, I could group, but I could just also flank, and my whole team's kind of spread out, so they won't really mind. But if you're all really close together on the objective or near the objective, a lot of the times that'll kind of remind them, maybe stay back a little bit. This doesn't work all the time, but of course it's a nice try, and if you can get it to work, well, why not? After that, I also want to remind you guys, don't pick a team comp fully around that one person on your team if you know that they're doing badly. I've seen this a few times where we have someone like a Tracer that really isn't doing that great, so we pick up a complete dive comp. We go Lucio, we go Winston, we go Zarya, whatever else you want to put in a dive comp, and then we just dive on in there, and we just get completely won because this person's going in at the completely wrong time. If you have someone on your team that you can build a pretty decent team comp around, and you won't really be way too in bad shape around that, I guess that can be okay. Like if you have a Soldier and a Reinhardt and an average team comp. But if you want to build a team comp such as an aggressive team comp and a diving team comp just so that you can happen to suit this one player, that's not always the best idea, and I'd say it's much better to let your players pick the characters that they often like to play instead of the ones that would happen to fit this one person's team comp. Now, as far as ultimates, which of course everybody knows are very, very important in this game and can honestly climb you a lot of ranks by themselves, I want to tell you guys, don't waste your ults just to combo with some bad ults that they give off. I've seen many, many times where pretty bad Zarya goes for a single man ult, happens to get them, and then we get like a Pharah ult and an Ana ult all comboed onto that. We get one kill and wasted 3 ultimates for that. Overall, it's just not a good idea to ever really stack ults like that on a really, really easy kill in the first place. But in a lot of different other situations, you just shouldn't happen to waste your ults just hoping that you can maybe make your one teammate's ult count a lot. Of course, if you see that they're maybe ulting a little bit off to the side of someone like Tracer, and then you can ult the enemy team into the bomb of someone like Zarya, that can be a very nice save, but in most cases, it's better to just wait for your team and go for some nice synergy, instead of just wasting your own things, trying to synergize with someone who really isn't paying attention, and who really isn't even trying to synergize with you. It's a lot better if you're, communicating both ways than you just trying to see what they're doing and hoping that you can work with that. Now, something that you might not want to hear that you should be doing is complimenting them when they're doing something great, or something that you want them to keep doing. Now, my personal favorite example is that, let's say that they're a bad Zarya, and they keep happening to try to flank. I've actually had this some games, and it's kind of weird, but that does kind of happen sometimes. And then, once upon a time, they actually stick with your team. They do a few good things, get some kills, maybe block you for a second, and then a lot of the times your teammates won't really say anything and nothing will change. But if you happen to type in chat or talk in team chat or saying anything like that and approve of this player for doing that really smart and cool, good thing that they're doing, they're probably going to do it way more. People really like praise in this game and in every game and in everything in life, and if you can happen to praise people in front of them and maybe talk to them after the game and maybe talk to them directly afterwards, it's a lot better, and it'll highly increase your chances of winning, instead of just only saying the bad to their faces and not really complimenting them when they're doing good. It really won't give them any good habits if you're doing that. Well, if you compliment them while they do good stuff for your team, of course, it'll help. And the final thing that I want to remind you guys to do is to keep all of your thoughts in your head until the match is done. And then after the match is complete, after you've gone through all the things, you got your SR, or you lost your SR, or whatever it is, then you tell them their problems. But don't act super entitled or super angry about it, or else they're just going to ignore you and not going to try to fix it in the future. You've probably had a few games on your own, or maybe you're just doing bad for a game or two. You have someone that rages at you and you just completely brush it off your shoulder. But if that person would have maybe said your exact mistakes or some of the stuff that you could have improved on, semi-nicely, even mediocrely nicely, or even just not super angrily, you might have listened a little bit more and might have actually improved a bit and might not have done the same mistakes in the future. And also as well, I just want to tell you guys, please don't join a game right after you meet one of these players. This has happened to me so many times. I just want to keep grinding out a lot of games for the day, I think it's going to be a mighty fun time. And then right after I rejoin the game, or rejoin competitive, and then my chance of actually seeing the same player is very, very high. Now, of course, sometimes they're on the enemy team, but a lot of the times they're again on your team, just because how SR kind of works. And then you back to square one with the same problems. You're probably going to be angrier because, you've had this player, you don't really like them, and they're probably going to be slightly angrier because, you've told them some of their mistakes, and even though it might not completely anger them, a lot of the times when you have someone tell you your mistakes, the next game they're going to be a little bit frustrated. A few games down the road they probably won't be, but the exact next game, it's probably not the best idea. So I'd say maybe wait half an hour to an hour. After that, they're probably off, or they're up or down a little bit SR, and you aren't going to meet them again. And that's the other number one thing that I'd say you guys should do. Just wait. You can wait and do something else while you're waiting. I don't know. Practice OSU, get better at aiming, and maybe you can go to the practice range and just kind of go from there. Anyways, as always, guys, thank you all for watching. These are just personally what I like to do to deal with these teammates, and you might have your own ideas of what you do. And if you have anything that you feel like has worked really, really well in the past, please tell me down in the comment section down below. As well, if you guys did enjoy, as always, leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more featured videos like this, any tip videos, and if you have any questions on any exact things, I can try to answer them as well as I possibly can. Anyways, as always, guys, thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful day.